Welcome to Beyond the Build, the podcast where we talk with leaders about the work behind the work, how strategy turns into execution, where systems slow teams down, and what it really takes to ship meaningful progress in complex organizations. I'm Sean Johnston. My guest today is Seth Fogle, a fractional CMO and CRO who works directly with leadership teams navigating growth, scale, and transformation across marketing, sales, and revenue operations. Seth, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
To get us started, can you walk us through your role and the kinds of organizations you spend most of your time working with?
Honestly, it truly varies based off the client, the market, the product, the target audience, what's pre-existing, like platforms, people, agencies, and those roles within that client. You
Right.
have someone who's over marketing, who's also overseeing the operations of the company, and that also includes marketing for the CEO themselves. And so it might be as simple as um, putting together speaking engagements for a local market that they're trying to crack. It
Right.
could be outbound or inbound leads for a company. Could be building a company, a startup from scratch, website, landing pages, social media, um, AdWords campaigns. I mean, it goes, it goes all over the place. So
The
you
whole
just kind of
gambit.
have
Yeah.
go with open arms and understand what you can influence, what you can't influence,
Right.
bandwidth of time, and every project's different. And over time, confidence builds with the client. You get the results that they're looking for, and that continues the relationship moving
Right.
forward.
Yeah. That makes sense. So because you operate as a fractional leader, and you often get dropped right in the middle of strategy and execution, what does that usually look like when you first come into an organization?
It just depends. Sometimes they're like, we would like you to help us with this new product. It's not formalized. We have an idea. We want to go for
Yeah.
it. And so you're like kind of walking around a little bit, with walking around a little blind till you start like picking up the pieces like, well, that's interesting. But that's something that we can use for a positioning statement. This is a differential advantage. Let's take a look and see if we can explore that more. Sometimes in those early stages, and depending on how deep their tech stack is and the people that are behind it, you can say, this would look really good if this mobile app did this, or
Right.
this would be really good for the general consumer and also for sales if we had these capabilities that we could show or that we could present to, clients or prospects. I mean, truly, yeah, I mean, you just really have to kind of be open-minded and then start thinking about how that approach is.
Right.
I also teach at Southern Wesleyan, and one of the classes that I teach is, the first thing we do is a customer needs analysis. And so you're going through all these just line items like, what's your average cost per client? What is the value of that? What's the 5-year life? How many clients can you take on? What's your market? Who's your target audience? All of these things. That's just your baseline. And then you start looking at, okay, well, there's some gaps here. There's a need there. There's some things that happen here. And then a lot of it happens organically. You have the conversations, you sit down, you sit in on the meetings with the support staff or tech staff, and you
Right.
start getting a better baseline and you build from that.
Okay. So in these environments, where does digital execution typically sit? Who actually owns it? Who is accountable when things don't move?
When things don't move,
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, usually I'm the one that's accountable for it.
That's your job. Yeah.
There's always gaps and there's always solutions. There seems to be thousands of marketing platforms, stacks, strategies, tactics that you can execute in the digital space, but it varies on that audience. Again, the tech teams and your ability to get that up and running in a short amount of time and completely.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, digital is a huge part of it. I mean, obviously, traditional media doesn't work unless it's on a local level or if you've got hundreds of thousands of millions of
Yeah. It's
dollars
still a
to
bit
support it.
situational. Yeah.
Right. So,
Yeah.
And I feel more and more like, yes, you can reach a certain audience with, if it's, a retail client with a product that targets women, obviously Instagram's going to play better there. If it targets
Yeah.
men, obviously
Yeah.
Twitter's going to play better there. And so you have to kind of pick and choose based off of that budget, based off of frame, based off of how much you're contracted to work for them, on,
To actually do.
is it a
Yeah.
project basis, hourly basis, is a retainer? And, but you do want results for the client. You want them to get as much exposure and as many, new sales as possible, if that's the goal. Digital is a huge portion of it. I'm kind of rambling here, but digital is a huge portion of it. It just it comes down to um, picking the right medium. Does it make sense for the particular client and their infrastructure, how they work? And you have to kind of be super selective. I will say the part about that I mentioned, there's hundreds of thousands of platforms and apps and tactics and strategies and back end things that you can do. Not all of those work. One might have one varying capability that you truly need, but there's an additional cost, and those costs start building up. Maintenance on that starts to become an issue. And, when you're handling numerous clients, you need to be able to make sure that you have the people that can be able to do that at a fair price, and that it's actually working and not causing a hindrance. Cause that continually seems to be a hang up is crap. The software can only take you so far.
Right.
AI can only take you so far without
Yeah.
it looking generic and unauthentic. And I think now more than ever, people are getting more used to and understand, like, well, that wasn't written by a human being. That was
Yeah.
those
There's
large dashes and
that's a
too many
giveaway. Yeah, the
adjectives.
long dash. Yeah. I'm
We're just
constantly
feeding
telling.
the AI is just feeding the system, feeding the
Yeah.
machine. It's
Yeah.
not really real and substantive.
Okay. So, I mean, as you observe marketing, sales, and technical teams working together within these organizations, like where do you most often see things slow down?
I mean, I've worked in companies where I manage both the marketing team and the sales team,
Hmm.
also customer service, which is still a part of that team. And then
That's
the
right.
tech side, sales is always asking, give me something more, give me, give me more leads, give me more product capabilities, give me more products, give me spin-offs. Marketing is, because it's so digital, everything is so digital, and you're looking at the analytics and you're constantly inside these dashboards trying to tweak and get them to function the way that they've been sold to you, that, they're scrambling to keep up, at the same time. And I think the biggest challenge is just being that center person and communicating
Right.
across the board, that, yes, I hear you. We'll work on that, and give them a time frame that's like
Yeah.
acceptable and realistic, and make sure everybody is motivated to get to that goal. The biggest reason is, between all of those teams, you have to explain the reason why you're asking for what you're doing,
Right. Yeah.
and also share them the importance of what of, if you were to execute, say your tech team you're asking them to build another product or another feature, you need to relay to them what the value of that is, or how it can help.
Yep.
In the same way with the sales team, like, look, the tech team is going to go ahead and do this for you, and they're going to build this out, and they add this marketing stack or whatever it might be,
Hmm.
but you need to sell it.
Yeah.
And you need to also, the tech team doesn't get it. They're almost in their own little world, and they don't sometimes hear that feedback. So, when you tell the sales team, if it works and it's good, you need to relay that to them, and you
Yeah.
need to be able to prop them up. And then customer service gets a bad rap because they're taking the heat when things
Right.
don't work,
Yeah.
so it's also, you have to almost be a counselor to them, just be like, I hear you. I don't like that either. Let's see if we can find a solution for that, because somebody oversold it, or, underrepresented it, or the tech team hasn't figured out this quirk in the billing system or credits or something of that nature.
Hmm.
And you have to kind of sit in the center of that, and, almost like you're, driving the traffic or directing the traffic in all locations, kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. And sometimes too, it's the opposite. It's knowing when a feature shouldn't get built or
Yeah.
that what's
I
being
mean,
asked. Yeah. Yeah.
I've walked into companies before, and, you look at their product suite. And there was one particular company, we were selling a ton of it, but the churn rate was super, super
Oh,
high.
super.
Yeah. And you were like, oh, I get it. It's a easy sell for the sales team. They get a commission on it, but we churn it out. And so, and the CEO of the company didn't see this. He didn't see that, the constant trend. He was seeing sales and they were being celebrated for it. But
Right.
the churn rate was,
It was short term. Yeah.
yeah, by the time we paid out the sales rep, we paid, we turned up, we built the product and got it out. And with all the time with the customer service trying to fix it, I mean, we were
Yep.
burning time, we were burning money on a product that wasn't honestly that great anyway.
Yeah.
So I killed that thing. I was like, we're done. We're not going to do this anymore. We'll find something else.
Yeah. Yeah. It's got to be sustainable. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So one thing I keep hearing is that strategy often moves faster than execution. So from your perspective, where does that gap usually open up?
Where does the gap open up? I
Hmm.
mean, everybody has ideas. Everybody wants to get to that goal,
Yeah.
and I think we've become so used to like our phones and, whatever your Xbox or your Google, wherever it is, I click it, I can get it.
Hmm.
It should be that easy. And a lot of clients think, I just press some buttons and click it and let it go. But they don't understand there's like, okay, well, this is a new platform and how these people are doing this that you're referring to, or this want that you want. There's a lot of parts and pieces that have to be cleaned up or executed and or built from scratch to get there. And so, we can come up with 1,000 great ideas, but to get them to actual, fruition of it actual working and functioning, it might take 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And the thing is, in that gap is the frustration on speed to execution,
Yeah. Yeah.
hangups on what say you build this marketing stack, but it's not firing correctly because
Right.
there's no offer. The language is wrong. The landing pages aren't built correctly. There's no video. Whatever it might be,
Yeah.
these
Whatever
things
wrinkle.
can hamper it, and that slows down those strategic juices of like, okay, let's go, let's go, let's go.
Right.
These are things that we want to get done, and it just comes down to bandwidth and being technically astute, understanding those platforms, especially when you have companies that we think we have an idea, we think we have a product, and we're shooting in the dark,
Yeah.
and so
Hmm.
you might have to execute instead of one platform or one strategy, you might have to execute 4 or 5 at the same time
Right.
and one stick.
Yeah.
And the others that you've spent an exhaustive amount of time just become a bust. So that's where it really falls apart, especially in startup environments. Everybody's wearing multiple hats.
Yep. Yeah.
And so, you can stay on top of it, but there is going to be gaps in people's ability to understand the platform, their comfort level, doing creative, comfort level in technical executions, understanding of platforms, or just not having a full representation of what the end goal is. And so all of those can kind of fall in
Yeah.
on you. You just have to take them as they come and address them as they come.
Yeah. I found that, like, particularly in the early days when you've got to like try a bunch of things at the same time because you need to move quick and you can't just do one at a time. That could be a little bit overwhelming for teams. And so, like, if there's not the right kind of tracking or assessment, then you might do something that's not working for too long or give up too early on something that
Correct.
might have. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So,
again, that's going back to, managing people and expectations and over communicating is, like
yeah,
we launch a
communication is
new
important.
website for a new product and we have, we have these goals and we have these initiatives and we launch it and we get it up and going and it's a dud,
Yeah.
And so, but if you say it out in the forefront, be like, look, guys, we're going to move super fast. We're going to just burn it down. But I always say, don't fall in love with your art, or
Yeah.
don't fall in love with the project because
That's right.
there is a strong possibility it's not going to work or
It's
it's
not
going
going
to
to work.
morph into something else.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to be, we always say, perfect's the enemy of done. We just need to see what works, what doesn't. Yeah. I like that. Don't fall in love with it.
Yeah.
That's true. So when that kind of friction shows up, those gaps, it sounds like sometimes it comes from tools, but how much of that can sometimes come from process or even organizational structure?
Yeah, I probably should have mentioned those too. I mean, because I'm a contractor, I do have
Hmm.
the ability they have the ability to fire me and I have the ability to fire them, right? So
Right.
it's not like I'm a full-time employee. So honesty has always been the best policy. So if there's some issue, be it personnel or any of the others that we've mentioned, I just say up front, like I have thoughts, I have some suggestions, and I'm just, bring it to bring it to the front and
Hmm.
just say it, especially when you're moving at a high rate of speed inside of an organization. Being upfront and honest saves a ton of time, and also
Yeah.
people understand where you're coming from. I've been in other environments where people wouldn't say anything, and it
Yeah.
festers and it
Yeah. Yeah.
builds.
Yeah.
Time goes on, and then we're behind, or then it causes some major catastrophe.
Yeah.
So
I've always found that transparency is the quickest way to trust, and trust creates safety. And when we can work safely together, that's when everybody's not kind of holding back a little bit. We're just sort of moving together as a team. So yeah, I would
and
agree
you
with that
don't
approach.
And honestly, you don't wanna work in an environment that you can't have that same
Yeah,
level
that's right.
of communication and honesty, because that causes sleepless nights, and that also causes hesitation, and
Well, and it can
you
foster a
begin to hold
spirit
back.
of like, yeah, it can foster a perspective of self-preservation. Like, I'm gonna make sure I'm okay.
Yeah,
And when you're moving quick like that, you've got to take risks. Like, you've got to be okay with getting it wrong sometimes. And if you're not in a safe environment for that to be okay, then you're not going to be able to do it.
right.
Yeah.
100%,
Yeah.
100%.
Like, there we are. So when you look across your clients, current and past, like, do you see recurring signals that tell you that an organization is going to struggle to ship?
Yeah, yep.
Can you elaborate?
There's a couple of things, and I think it comes down to the ownership, like the CEO or the
Yep.
business owners themselves. Sometimes you can, where they are. I mean, I've had clients that have told me that we're moving too fast,
Yep.
and
Right.
we don't we don't want to we don't want to do some of the things that you want, or and that was okay. That's what you hired me for, is to we've hit these goals. Our next goal is to go here, and they're just like, we don't want to do that. We feel uncomfortable about going that far. Okay, well, that's fine. I've had clients that, in a continuation of pivoting around the product and what it is and what it does. You start with one particular product, and then it or service, and that's its core service, and they completely jump to another one. And I don't know if that's I suspect it's because they want to stay relative with the investors, like, oh, well, this product also does this, so we're going to do that. And neither of the products are that great.
Right.
These are nothing in currently which I'm managing, but there's things in the past, and you're just like, okay, well, I guess we're going to completely pivot to this position, and we're going to do this. Also, I've been in situations where, I'm told this is what the product does and this is how it operates. And I'm like flabbergasted, amazed. And then after working with them for a couple months, I start
That's
looking,
not it at all. Yeah.
yeah, I look behind the curtain and start asking questions. It's not that at all. It's
Yeah.
something's being propped up, or it's not what it says it is.
Yeah. I've had more than a few demos where I'm like, that sounds interesting. I'll take a look at it. And then when we get into it and you ask questions, you're like, oh, you're just doing that all behind the curtain. Like,
Right.
that's
Yeah. And I
people
mean,
doing work. That's not an application. Yeah.
yeah. And I don't like that. I
Yeah.
mean
No, I
I
agree.
mean, I don't like that. Well, I mean, it's like, um, I'm selling fool's gold, it's
Mhm.
not it's not real.
Yeah.
And those typically disintegrate after a while anyway,
Well,
like,
they can't scale. So yeah.
well, they can't scale, or it's vaporware,
Yeah.
it's
Right.
not real.
There's, there's no substance. Yeah.
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 Um, and then I've had just insane CEOs, they're
Every day is a new plant.
every day's a new plan. The product pricing changes. There's there micromanaging what's being said on the website. And I get it to a point, but at the same time, it's like, it's a fluid medium. So, I mean, we can make changes. I mean, you're like fixating
Yeah.
on 3 seconds of a video, it's
Right.
like, we got to send it all back. We got to, okay. It's,
Yeah, we deal with that a lot. Like a fluid medium is a really good way of saying, like, websites' job is to evolve because the
mhm,
market evolves, what we understand about our audience evolves, the needs evolve. Like, it's not that's gonna be different in 2 months. Like, why are we
yeah.
worrying about it right now? Yeah.
And then I would say another would probably be decision by committee.
Yeah.
And the
Yep, yep.
committee is is not educated or experienced inside
Mhm.
the field or space
Yeah.
of business or marketing or sales, and they're chattering, and they're chattering up to the CEO, which is then bleeding down to you.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of the harder things to kind of deal with because you're like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah,
Like,
that's a fundamental organizational problem. Yeah.
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 And there, y as a contractor, my goal, number 1, is if whatever you hired me for, generate new business, get more clients, make more sales, bring awareness, whatever it might be, that's my one and only goal. Outside
Yeah.
of that, I'd really, you
I
know,
don't care. Yeah.
I don't I don't care about, what Susie wants to be as a store manager, or I mean
That's
all
right.
this other stuff. So
Yeah.
you have that, and I get it. Like, obviously, an owner wants to understand what their employees are saying and wants to and have their feedback.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the it shouldn't overwhelmingly influence just the business directives and goals. And so, it's, you come up with a strategy or a tactic or a campaign for a particular client, and you get, well, some of the people didn't really like it on this way. And I'm like, well, some of those people are in the shipping department. I don't
That's
particularly give a shit. So, um, but they're thinking about it, and, and they're thinking about it, and it's influencing them. And, I've had scenarios, if you've worked inside the social media space, it is so subjective,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
and people do take it super personally, and they feel like it's a reflection of them. As a marketer, I look at as impressions and views and
Yeah.
outreaches and so on and so forth. I look at the metrics of like volume,
Yep.
where a lot of times they just take it so personally.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm like, that is not our goal. That it's our goal is to get you exposure and new traffic and new
Yeah.
sales and
Yeah. Yeah.
market domination. And even though you might say to them, we mentioned fluid, an Instagram post might live in that space for a minute tops
Yeah.
for that
That's right.
day. It might have a micro dose of influence in that entire market, in that entire audience.
Yeah.
And when you're doing a high volume, you are creating uh, you know, you are creating a presence, you are training the audience, and continually to build that out there. But when you have people on the outside being like, I just, it's just not really
Doesn't
showing
feel
us.
right. Doesn't sound like us. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just
I've
doesn't
been
have our
there.
same vibe or same tone or something like that. And you're like, you
Okay.
know,
Moving on.
we're
Yeah.
missing, and that's the thing. And you try to go back to the fundamentals, like you are training people to be exposed to you,
Yeah.
your products, your services,
That's right.
your
Yeah.
appeal.
Yeah.
And some are going to connect and some are not. And you can never have perfection in that space simply because of the
Yeah.
short time span it lives in that space. And
Yeah.
also the audience, there's just, doom scrolling.
That's
They'll
right.
see it for a
And we
second.
care what they care. We care what they think, not what you think.
Right.
Like, yeah,
Exactly.
you're not the
Yeah.
audience. That's
I
right.
guess that's my point. Yeah, exactly. And to reel that back in and continue to have to reinstate that, on a regular basis, like, we really didn't, Susie really didn't like the comment around that, or that really
Yeah.
doesn't, give the lighting is bad. And I'm like, guys, We've got
Move on.
6 more of these going out this week,
That's right.
so it'll be lost. It'll disappear into the ether,
That's right. Yeah. No one will remember this post. So there's often a disconnect between leadership expectations and like operational reality. Like, what mistake do you see leaders make when they try to speed things up?
I mean, number 1, we're only human. Number 2, it's never that easy.
Yeah.
I think, as a leader, they are supposed to set goals, set expectations, set points in time where they want to, be at or reach at or go to market. That's where they got to where they are, right?
Hmm.
I think unrealistic expectations sometimes get in the way. Stacking projects and then having to
Yeah. Trying to
that
do too
seems
much
to
at
be
once.
something that, we're in a constant state of like
Yeah.
reprioritizing. Okay, the website is mission critical for us right now.
Yeah.
The outreach, this comes, then comes this, then comes this. Oh,
Order of
pop
operations.
that
Yeah.
back on there.
Yeah.
And I think, especially when they are full gas all the time, and you say, hey, you need to have that conversation with that CEO or owner, like, we can do all these things, they're going to take time, we need to prioritize which ones. These are the ones I feel that are the strongest, and these are the timeframes that I think we can get this executed,
Yeah.
best case scenario. And also, you're going to burn everybody to the ground trying
Yeah.
to get here, so let's pick our battles, let's be strategic about it, and
Yeah.
execute accordingly within our capabilities, within our budget, and that are going to have the highest benefit, what we project and know is going to be the highest benefit at this exact moment.
Yeah. Yeah. We always say internally here, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. So
Mm,
if we can focus on one thing and move through it without moving the goalposts all the time, then we'll actually get there quicker.
mm.
And it's completing and shipping the things that start giving you the opportunity to measure what's successful. If you're doing everything at once, then nothing gets done.
Right. I mean, throwing it all at the wall and hoping that it's going to stick without
Yeah,
putting, again, like the foundational items,
that's right.
like
Yeah.
we need to have all of these in place
Yeah.
and that they're done correctly. And like you were saying, go smooth and go slow and go smooth and make sure it's complete and it is
Yeah.
at its highest point that we can get it at the exact moment
Yeah.
and where we aspire it to be to a point. And then we can start adding these other things, all the bells and whistles and all these
Yeah.
other items that we want to happen. And, sometimes you have the CEOs that, they look at you as a shiny new toy who's going to
That's
do
going to
everything.
wave your wand. Yeah.
Yes, it's done.
Yeah. Uh, so when organizations do try to modernize their workflows, because I imagine you sort of come in and try to do that as part of the startup process, like what's hardest sometimes for teams to let go of?
So, I mean, a mass majority of them are open. Like, it's like, hey, there's a platform, there's a medium, there's, a tactic that I think would be very good inside this space. Usually they're open to it. The CEO is, they're like, yeah, let's do it. Kick
Right.
ass. How much is
Hmm.
it? How long is it going to take? Okay, do it. Where I find the gap is the people behind the scenes. So for instance, they have hired a marketing manager who's really good at social media,
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
but is, petrified of moving outside of anything that they don't understand. And I've run
Right.
into this a lot, especially like when you're working with pre-existing teams, you're like, all right, we're going to execute on Klaviyo and we're going to bring all, our email lists and we're going to build this and we're going to connect it to Shopify. And then we're going to add all of these other things and we're going to have to warm up our emails. And then we're going to execute, they're just like, "Whoa," just like in a catatonic state
Yeah.
of like, he's pushing too hard,
Right. Yeah.
and so those things, and this is the world that we live in,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
digital marketing is in a constant state of
Yeah.
reinventing itself.
You got to be curious. Yeah.
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 And I think I'm answering your question, but I have had, where it's like they want it, you get it, they sign off on it, it's time to execute. And I've had And I've had people that I've worked with and there are people underneath them that are scared to death to push the button.
Yeah.
I'm not being like
Mhm.
facetious or, they just don't want to press send,
Yeah.
or,
Or
engage.
launch or whatever. Yeah.
Look,
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny how often I've encountered like people come to you because things aren't working, but then they struggle to let go of the things that they're using. And we're like,
uh,
but they're not working. Like, well, that's why we're here. So let's try these other things that have worked in other scenarios and see what happens. It's okay to get it wrong. People are so afraid of getting things wrong. Wrong. Those are data points, is how we know.
yeah. Well, yeah, nothing's happening. Congratulations. You've bought into HubSpot or you've bought into whatever
That's right.
platform you're using
Yeah.
and you're doing nothing with it. Well, I've
Exactly.
already paid, 1,200 or, 2,600 or whatever, $10,000 for this.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you got bad advice or your people didn't follow through
Yeah.
or, it was just mismanaged. But I don't have, when I come in, I don't have a lot of time
Right.
to, pontificate
Yes.
around things. They want results. My job is to
To execute.
give
Yeah.
it, give it, give them a plan
Yeah.
and then execute on that strategy
Yeah.
and let God sort it out on the way, kind of
That's
thing.
right.
But
That's a
so
good
when
one.
you have somebody that's scared to push a button,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
like,
that's tough. Yeah.
you need to bring it up. Be like, this person is scared to death of
Yeah.
doing the job that you hired them for,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
we'll give you every reason in the world why they can't.
Why they
I
can't.
wasn't
Yeah.
trained on that. I don't know that. Well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna
We're
train
gonna
you
learn.
and lead you to
Yeah,
do that.
that's
Yeah.
right. We're gonna build this plane while we fly it. That's the fun
Yeah.
part.
Yeah.
So we've talked a bunch about like where things can not work. Like just in your experience, like I would imagine you've worked with organizations that have just really embraced the change and moved and pulled apart all those bottlenecks. Like what do they do differently? What makes them successful, others struggle?
I think when somebody gives you the reins holistically and says to you like, I don't want to be involved in any of this double authentication BS. I
Yeah,
don't want to have to go through the systems and make them connect and make them, speak to each other and distribute on a linear basis. I don't
yeah.
understand it. I don't care. I just know
Me
that it
too.
needs to be
Yeah,
done. And you're
yeah,
like, thank you, Jesus. I will go ahead and just let me work and I will keep you up to date on what's happening. You know,
right.
hey, by the way, you're going to get an email. I need that,
I need that code.
or, hey, and they don't understand it. They understand where their strengths are and
Yeah,
they know that this is the reason why they've hired you and
yeah,
they allow you to execute. And they
yeah,
obviously they want to see the results and it wants to be measurable. I do that, but they allow you to work without I have to educate you on the basics of digital marketing in the beginning,
yeah,
from all the way from the beginning to now, even if you grasp it or if you don't
yeah,
or explain every little thing, that's always been a challenge. But the best kind of clients are the ones that are like, let's, let's go. And
yeah,
here's the reins. Do what you need to do. I just want to make sure that we're getting our money's worth and that we're
yeah,
seeing the value in the ROI in the end.
yeah.
And that's
Trust.
obviously that's the dream client, right?
Yeah.
But it's never that
It's never
simple.
that easy. Yeah, I mean, trust with measurability, I think, is what I've always found was the way. Like, if you can trust a team, but teams thrive best when they have goals and measurements because they want to know how they're doing too. If all of that can happen,
Mhm.
then there's just no need to be involved in approving Instagram posts or
Right.
setting up 2FAs. Yeah,
And where you and on the opposite side of that spectrum, where you see the most where you see the most pushback in being able to do the work that you're doing, it usually comes down to like budget constraints and availability of money.
yeah,
And that money and typically you get a very clear picture of what's happening in the beginning, when they're like, well, what is that for? And what does that do? And it's and everything is being questioned about where the money is being spent. That
yeah,
money means more to them at this moment in time, meaning they're not making huge amounts of money.
yeah,
Um, and they're looking for miracles,
yeah,
that's a
yeah, yeah.
difficult client.
Yeah.
Um, and I get it. And I still take on those clients too, because I want them to be successful. And if I can get them that exposure and those results, that's great. But it comes to a point where you're just like, maybe we execute a couple of these things and see how it goes, and you still
Yeah.
have some money left over.
Yeah.
And then probably the worst type of client is the one that wants free advice. On your consult, they want you to, so
Yeah.
what would you say that
Yeah.
is? And
Lay
you're
the
like,
whole plan up for you. Yeah.
I don't, I'm not a 501(c)(3). I am here for profit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and then the other one, and it's a part of this too, is um, where they want you to give them all of the skills and tools and people, and at a no charge. Like, what email
Yeah. It's
platform
all
are you
bundled
using?
in.
Yeah, what tactic is going on?
Yeah.
And that's a problem. Then, especially in the fractional space, where you're burning more time than what you're being paid, and
Yeah.
they're asking for more projects, than more timelines and more executions, and you're like, I'm burning more hours per week and not
Yeah.
getting the results, and that's on me.
Mhm.
Again, that's just being upfront and honest with them. Be like,
Yeah.
we're creeping well over that 10 hours a week or 15 hours a week type
Yeah.
scenario.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, looking ahead into the future, like if you were designing a modern execution model today, like knowing what you know now, like what would you do differently?
Depends on the product. It depends on the people, and depends on the market. I mean, it's still just always those fundamental things, that, it's people, price, product, market, infrastructure, target audience. All of those things play into building the perfect scenario.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have an answer. So that's kind of a really broad question, and again, it's just, I mean, you still have your regular block and tackle executions that you have to be involved in,
Yeah.
your website, your social media presence, your Google AdWords, your affiliate marketing, it just really depends. You have to get those in place. LinkedIn, email outreach platforms, all of those things are just baseline.
Yeah.
And I think some people get lost in clearly showing differential advantage to competitors. And now, because we were constantly on our phones post COVID, nobody's like even reading emails. It's just like they won't even take a call. Those days are
Yeah.
gone. Face to face
Yeah.
is
I
certainly
never pick up the phone. You could talk to my voicemail. I'll call you back.
right. Prime example. And so when you do have those touch points with that target audience or target client, I don't think people are really taking the time to come up with a strong offer. It seems to be, I tell my clients, what does it matter to them? Why would
Yeah.
they give a shit?
What
'Cause my
problem are
friend,
you solving? And do they
right,
have
right.
it?
Well, why would I engage with you?
Yeah.
Give me a reason. Are you solving something? Are you giving away something? Or is there doing something better? Is it because people don't want to be bothered? There's the cost of change, switching over or switching
Yeah.
over a platform. It has to be something strong out there that makes a
Yeah.
big difference
Got
to
to be
get.
something in there in it for them. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we can be as micro-targeting as humanly possible, you know? I can target you on your Xbox, I can target you on your phone, I can target you everywhere, but the mechanics of it mean nothing unless the creative and the offer and the place where that traffic's gonna land is meaningful to make those actually convert. And I think a lot of times in the tech field, digitally, we're always like, we can see all of these people from, first party data that are doing this, that have all of these different behaviors that match our audience, and we can target them across multiple platforms.
Yeah.
Great. But why do they care?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So
So just last question, looking again into the future, like with AI, with low code, with sort of the changes in these platforms and how they work, like where do you think the biggest gains in execution will come from over the next few years? Like what are you keeping keeping tabs on?
Well, I will say, to give a comparison, I won't say our AI systems and what their capabilities is in the Atari phase of, I would say they're in Coleco, maybe
Yeah.
past ColecoVision into Nintendo 64.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some of the capabilities that are, being promised or being, touted about, just saying, they're just not there.
No.
And so the biggest leaps I see is actually at some point the AI, like if you're looking at different platforms like Sprout Social, they have, all of these platforms have the ability to use AI to help refine the content, which is cool. But sometimes, when you're dealing with a subjective subject matter,
Yeah.
it can come off either repetitive or just void of authenticity. I think I've mentioned that before. Authenticity is so big inside the space. And so I think at some point, I believe the AI will be able to understand. Obviously, it's learning, but I feel like it'll feel more like have more of a human, authentic touch. I think video is huge gaps in video
Yes.
just within the last 2 years, I would say, last 3 years. I mean, from where video was like, what is this? This looks like something from a science fiction movie.
That's
Like,
right. Yeah.
this is some twisted nightmare to now it's like, God almighty,
Yeah.
I would have, back in the day, you would have paid thousands and thousands of dollars for such a nice,
Yeah.
smooth, video.
I
The
had
impact
a
the
oh,
impact
sorry.
of that video
Yeah.
is also, eh, it's not authentic. It's a laugh, but it feels generic. It feels like I'm being programmed. I think
Right.
there's a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Um, so those are, and then also what like Meta's doing right now, good or bad, being able to take your product and then change the background and enhance it is awesome if you don't have brand standards.
Right. Yeah.
If you don't have a client that have a owner that's like, what is that? Those are brand standards,
Yeah.
and the thing is what you see is, especially with Meta, that, their creative lab or whatever they're calling it, ad lab, it is awesome, but it's also like, whoa, 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 what are you doing? Like it removes control from you, almost
Yeah.
like what Google AdWords has done, where it's like, no, we'll do all the brain work for you.
Yeah.
You don't need to monitor this. We got
I'm
you
sure it's
covered.
not helping their bottom line either. Yeah.
I mean, it allows them to faster the market for clients.
Mm.
There's less knowledge that's there. It's cutting out you and I and the people that work
Yeah.
under us. Um, I don't, I would say that it's probably marginally better, but I don't feel as comfortable with it because I
Yeah.
don't 100% trust it because, it might be buying the wrong phrases or targeting the wrong thing or
Yeah.
engaging
Well,
in the,
and it's easy for us to stop thinking. So I like scenarios and where I've found AI in our own workflows the most effective is when the human's still in the driver's seat. We're still making the final decisions.
Mhm.
It's just the legwork and the grunt work that it can automate really well.
Yeah.
Um, that's I found where velocity can really help.
Yeah.
And like when you can move quicker without adding more people, there's an opportunity to speed things up without sacrificing quality or control. So
Yeah. No,
yeah,
agreed. Agreed.
yeah,
I use it every day,
yeah.
admittedly.
I
I
use it all
mean,
day, every day. Yeah, it's my trusty co-pilot. So
yeah. I mean, my research for my doctorate is on AI inside the, human space. So,
yeah,
and its interaction. So it's,
that's cool.
I
Yeah,
I live inside that space and I love it. Also scared of it. I also know that it's the future and
yeah,
we're gonna make some huge gaps. We're gonna jump some huge gaps. It's
yeah. I
almost
see
like
some
the
surges
introduction
for
of the
sure.
internet.
Yeah,
When the internet was first here, it was
yeah.
like little chat rooms.
A huge thanks to my guest Seth Fogle for sharing such a clear and grounded perspective on why execution slows and what actually helps organizations move faster. Thanks a lot, Seth.
Oh, thanks, Sean. It was fun. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. If you're a leader wrestling with strategy outpacing delivery, stay tuned. There's a lot more coming this season. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.